Welcome back from a 2-year hiatus, I think, for Bowls and Beers. The last time we did this show, we had a very different cast and crew, a few hangovers, but Matt has went from being the spry. Oh, hold on. Matt went from being the spry-eyed, youthful face of Bull Run to now one of the elder statesmen of the program, as we got Zach and Robbie on board. Part of the reason why we've been on hiatus is just our lives have been crazy for the past couple of years in a huge way. And I thought we could just real quick go around and just recap why we've been absent. It's been just a big couple of years. I mean, for me on my end first, I've been adjusting to the fourth child. And what I kind of realize is when you have more kids, your time needs go up exponentially, not linearly. So where I had all of this under control with 2 kids and I was managing it with 3 kids, 4 kids has proven very difficult. And a change in jobs and other life changes. But we're looking forward to spinning back up and kind of reconnecting as a community. I'm handing off to the elder statesman of the site, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, we could go with the last couple of years and we could just go with the last couple of months. I'm no longer in DC. I've had a busy summer. I spent the last year and change planning a wedding and got married earlier this summer. And Tim and Robbie and John were there. I think it's the most Bull Run people we've ever had in one place. And then shortly after that, we moved here to Southern Pines, North Carolina, which is a very different place than DC. So I've gotten married, I've moved, I had my own 3 and a half, year hiatus kind of from the blog. For a variety of reasons, none of which I want to relive, but I'm back. I'm excited to learn all sorts of new names in the Olympic sports. I don't know if I could name a single women's soccer player right now, which is really just a shame, but we'll get on it, and it's really good to be back and making this happen again. Do I need to fill?
No, okay, sorry. So I clicked the wrong button. We're learning a new platform.
I wasn't sure where Robbie went, if Robbie was going to talk next. But
go on, Zach.
I'm Zach. I'm the new guy. I've only been here for a couple months, but also kind of had some change in the past couple months. I was in Binghamton working when I first started writing, and now I'm back in Buffalo and starting a new job. Moved into a temporary place, and now I'm moving again tomorrow into my actual apartment. So that'll be fun, but exciting time.
So, well, Zach, I've loved what you have written so far. I'm really happy to have you on the site. Let's complete the moving trifecta with our second most recent move. Robbie, you want to go on and tell us what you're up to?
Yeah. So I graduated with Zach a little over a year ago from UB, and then I was a PR assistant there for a year, and then I got wind of a great new opportunity down at Northern Kentucky University, where we've kind of adopted a soccer team since UB's program got cut, and I applied to a graduate assistant position with their athletic communications department. So I'm working down here right now, getting my master's degree for free, and working with both of their soccer programs and their baseball program for all of their communications needs while going to grad school. So it's been a hectic few months. The last year was very all over the place because I was doing an internship on top of working full time at UB. So it's been a great move. I really have to thank Sue Wucher and John Della Contrada at UB, who really helped me get to this position, and then and of course Stu Riddle for helping me get in my foot in the door here at Northern Kentucky. So finally starting to live the dream a little bit here and work in sports information.
That's awesome. Matt, you left something out and I'm very disappointed that you did. You got a cat. And given this is Bowls and Beers, cats have to be mentioned.
That's true. That's true. The cat is extremely recent news.
He's not feral, is he? I've got issues with feral.
No. We picked her up at 5 hours ago. Now we've had her, and she stayed, and there was like a 2-day waiting period, which I was not expecting. We decided to get a cat Saturday, and we finally actually got her today. But Emily has had a cat before. I have not, and so we'll see how that goes.
If you're new to Bull Run or to our broadcast, you may not know I was attacked by a feral cat on the eve of a football game. I texted the audience. I texted the other editors from the emergency room saying someone's got to get the games thread up in case I don't get out of here because I had to go be tested and all kinds of other things. And for the next couple of weeks, David Brand, who we miss dearly, was playing cat noises during the broadcast. But so that was why I think the cat. Matt, you were there for that. The cat should have been brought up.
I think the cat story gets better every time I hear it because the first time I heard it from Matt, then I heard it from you, and then before Matt's wedding, I heard it from your wife. So like it escalated every time.
Oh no! The best part was Minji worrying about the dog while I was bleeding on the ground. That never gets old. But no, Dave playing the music, the cat sounds during that was one of the highlights of that whole thing. And then I think a couple of years ago, I had another cat sneak into the garage. Not feral this time, thank God. But Matt went on to Twitter. I think it was Matt. Went on to Twitter saying, Bull Run alert, Bull Runner. We have a cat alert in Tim's garage. All right, so this is what we got. We may have other people here through the year. We'll see. We have another editor who is having computer troubles and decided they were so bad he needed to go night-night. So thank those. Oh, by the way, guys, thank you all on the East Coast. I know this is a little later for you than me, but as the other guys saw during the show, I don't even have all my kids to bed yet. So this is kind of an hour for me too. All right, let's skip into just some brief catch up. This is a warm up episode, but football is only 2 weeks away. We'll be starting a games thread story week stream in less than 7 days. And it's kind of freaky how fast the summers went by. Last year was a great year, and I think we're all pretty sure we're not going to repeat it. But let's just talk about how good 2019 was and how awful the NFL draft was before we talk 2018. Before we talk about the upcoming season, and I should change this comment. So 2018 was obviously the season of the 6'7" quarterback, the incredibly tall quarterback that he's even getting those comments in the NFL. It was 10 wins, but UB seemed to struggle a lot with winning the big games, namely their last three, now that I think about it. I thought we'd go around and do a quick 5 minutes of good, bad, ugly from 2018. So let's start with Robbie. Robbie, what about the good and the bad and the ugly? Yeah.
Running backs. I was very surprised by how well Kevin Marks and Jarrett Patterson worked out in their first season. They really are going to be forces to reckon with for the rest of their UB careers, and they're definitely going to bring an it factor to UB football. I think that people are going to be excited about. Bad, MAC championship game, blowing that lead. That was rough. And I would say the ugly was the Army game. You got a pretty much packed UB stadium, and you just come out and let them demolish you. That Army game, in my opinion, was the moment for the Buffalo community to start rallying around the UB football team for probably the first time, at least in 10 years. And
they were close. They were getting AP votes at that point, I think.
Yeah. If they didn't have votes, they were very close.
I think they had votes. I think they weren't in the top 25. I think, but they were eking up there, and they never touched it again.
Yep. And the very beginning of the game showed promise, and then after that, we just got railed by them. So that was the ugliest moment of the season for me. It was just like, we gave up a lot of lost potential, at least in fan support, just by getting destroyed by Army that much at such a crucial point. In the season, we had just that was our first home game in forever, and we were doing so well. I don't know. I think we only had one loss at that point, if not undefeated.
I think we were undefeated at that point.
I think we were I think we were 4-0 or something.
Yeah, we beat Rutgers, Temple, was it Delaware State, and one MAC team.
Yeah. So that's the ugliest moment of the season. I'll discount the MAC championship game because at least we had a winning season. It had been a bit since the last one. So, that Army game was a lot of lost potential in my opinion.
See, for me, the worst part about the Army game, I shouldn't say the worst part, we came out so strong. Like, we looked good for the first.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
And that happened against Ohio, too, now that I think about it. Against Ohio, we came out bang on fire, pounding the ball down the field, scoring, stopping them, and then after that, just completely nothing. All right, Matt, your turn. Good, bad, ugly, 2018.
I assumed you'd go to Zach first. This is
never know what I'm going to do.
This is a sentence that I've been looking forward to saying since you sent us the agenda. For the first time in my life, I got to cheer for double-digit wins in a football season for any of my teams. Through all high school, obviously the Bills for 20 years, 25 years, UB. Literally have never had a team win 10 games before. So that was good. Running backs were a good spot. Everything Robbie said there, but it just is nice to win. The bad is that I still am not excited by Leipold's teams. I know we could score a lot of points. I know we won. I used to joke about characterizing Lance Leipold's teams as, squinting into a slate gray sky, and I still kind of feel that way. We won, but other than the Rutgers game, I don't know, maybe I'm being too down on it, but the way the season ended felt a little sour. Even attrition aside, I don't feel a ton of excitement about this year, and maybe I'm showing my hand a bit. In the ugly, I'm going to say this now and maybe show my hand for later in the show. I don't think we were the best team in the East Division last year. I think we won the East Division because we were a little more consistent than Ohio and Miami, but those two games at the end of the year, I think we're real lucky to make the MAC championship game the way we were playing at the end of the year. And that's what sticks in my mouth. I don't remember the bowl game. I, of course, remember the second half of the MAC championship game, but what I really remember is the way we got beat by Ohio and kind of had to hold on against Miami. And so that's kind of where I'm at heading into this year, which is not the most positive thing ever.
I keep hitting the wrong dang button. The big thing is, though, man, and you know this, you've been a UB fan long enough to know this. In the Buffalo, Ohio series, the team that plays at home often demolishes the other team, no matter what. True. I remember there a few years ago, Ohio came up here, and Ohio was just – they were at 9 wins, I think. They were barreling through the East, and Buffalo just humiliated them.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why I think we might beat Ohio this year is because of where we play. I have no idea why it works out that way, but I think I looked at the numbers. I think only 1 or 2 times in the past decade has the away team won in that series. And given how terrible UB has been over the past decade, we've had like 3 good years.
Oh, yeah. The only thing that compares to it is Reggie Witherspoon's uncanny ability to win on shenyor night. No matter he could have an 8-win team and they'd win on shenyor night by 30 points. Where did that come from?
I agree with your ugly, not about Ohio in general, but about we seemed, although we did beat Temple was in a bad place when we played them.
Yes, yeah. They
were a great team. They finished the season on fire. Yeah. But we didn't really beat a good team last year. Miami was. It
was a very Temple-ish season as you bring them up. It was a very Temple-ish season as you bring them up.
Yeah,
it's very. Yeah.
All right, Zach. Oh, Tim's being stupid. The remove person from stream and put them as the only person are right next to each other. Zach, you're up. What's your good, bad, ugly? The ugly is Zach's internet connection. Zach, can you hear us? Or
He may or may not be filming this on a potato.
no, it's May. I'm just waiting for the 9600 baud modem to spin up. Robbie, you're not old enough to remember 9600 baud modem.
I know what that is,
I hate to
though.
tell you, I'm not old enough to remember 96.
I know what that is, though.
You know, when you said you don't remember a football team you cheered for getting 10 wins, that then occurred to me how young you are. Because I was a Bills fan in the 90s.
Tim, my first Bills memory was Todd Collins starting as the heir apparent to Jim Kelly. That was my first Bills memory.
Oh,
Was that
my
97?
God.
Was that 97 or 98? I think that was.
No, it was not 98 because 98 was when Rob Johnson came in. I thought it was
97. Because
But it
I
might have
think
been
Kelly
97.
played in 96 when we lost to Jacksonville in the playoffs.
Okay.
It was the last. Yeah, so I remember in 97, which means that was the year I met my wife.
Every job interview I did in Buffalo, the interviewer asked me about Rob Johnson, the quarterback.
Oh, good. That's,
Are you related? Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't you tell?
yeah, of course.
Ronnie, you dodged a whole bunch of bullets there. Nothing.
But luckily, with
a
the
good place
podcast
to work.
interview
but-
for that internship, he's like, I liked Rob Johnson as a quarterback. And I guess that's how I got hired.
That's a trap. Let me tell you right now. When anyone in Buffalo talks about, oh, I liked so-and-so as a quarterback and it's not Jim Kelly, it's a trap. I love Doug Flutie. He's a great guy, man. Don't answer. or you have to have the generic, I root for whoever's behind center that day. Don't fall into that, man. All right. For me, the good was obvious. Matt kind of stole the 10-win thing because I've been watching UB football intently for about 10 years. And it seems like a lot of those years added together don't get to 10 wins. So to have it all pour on you in one season was nice. As far as Leipold goes, I'm not quite as gray sky as Matt. But I think I've accepted the fact that there's a huge learning curve. The whole football thing was great press. But I think – no, it was. I mean, I coach – that's part of the job. That's part of the job. Part of the job is to be a voice of a program. And Leipold has gentle way of saying this, a very subdued personality. So to see him actually do something that caught on was kind of neat because he's Leipold. I think he can be there. I definitely have concerns about the way the team performs late in games. And I definitely, I mean, I could have handled either the bowl loss or the MAC championship loss.
Yeah.
Either one of those, I could have walked away from and been like, well, it's football. And they were Northern Illinois and Troy were good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And for Troy, it was a very virtual home game.
Yeah.
But to take the two back to back was kind of like, you know what? This team did not have the personality to push through. And I think what's funny is we saw a lot.
I think there were some stars in people's eyes as the season goes on. I'm obviously 3 states away and not on campus and not in the area, but from what I'm going to be very reckless and say like body language wise and stuff. I think there was some thought to the next step before the first step was done.
I think a lot of Tyree Jackson's problems got exposed in the fourth quarter of those games.
Yes.
Where he'll go in the NFL, I don't know. The guy is just physically amazing. But, I mean, I think it might have been Conrad. Someone on Twitter was posting pictures of, like, wide open guys in the flat on plays where he was just, throwing into coverage. And it wasn't that he didn't have the arm, and it wasn't that he didn't have the ability. But
it wasn't just coverage. He'd throw into double coverage a lot.
Yeah. Well, it seemed like that's what I call it coverage because that's where he always threw it.
He'd stare down a guy. That was definitely one of his biggest problems.
And I think that led into my ugly for the year, which was the NFL draft, which this year was looking like it was going to be the best UB draft year since Khalil Mack made the entire draft. And then nobody gets drafted. And Khalil Hodge didn't even get picked up anywhere as undrafted free agent. That kind of shocked me. That he went undrafted, I understood because he had a really bad 40 time at the UB Pro Day, but that he didn't get a shot anywhere. There's a private chat. I'm getting yelled at. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're running behind, and because guys in the East Coast are on the East Coast, we're all going to just accept the fact that challenges for 2019 are that we're only returning 8 starters, which is the fewest in the NCAA. And unfortunately, one of the starters we're not returning is a quarterback. And we don't have a set quarterback. The last time that happened going into a season was Chaz Anderson and Tyree Jackson. And we played a school from a little town called Albany where that all kind of shook out. So let's hope that there's some certainty before kickoff against Robert Morris.
I bought a new TV for that game and everything, you know.
I bought into Chaz Anderson. That was worse.
Even the alcohol wasn't able to help with the Albany game.
It made it even worse. I don't know how.
Honestly, it was a very sad day.
Well, did you guys see that? Because I did this is an old school one in the score pick'em game that we do. I said UB 2020 Albany 0, and
the quarterback.
Albany's backup quarterback DJ Crook came after us on Twitter about that, and I was like, "Do you really like? You need to grow up a bit because that was not serious."
Come on.
I'm telling him that he needs to recognize what is and isn't serious in life. But
if you're going to be a Division I athlete, you've got to grow some kind of a thick skin.
He's a Division I athlete at Albany.
That are going to criticize you. Like, come on.
He's at Albany.
It's Division I.
If we had Alabama as our payday game this year, and then Alabama, you know, what's the Crimson Tide blog on SB Nation called? I want to plug him real quick.
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Roll Bama.
It's Roll Bama.
I know they're a great site. I just can't think of the name right now. If they tweeted like, "Oh, we're going to beat UB 5,000-0," if we eked out a win against them, I would serve up some crow. I would. And so I kind of give him some patience, some grace for that. There was a little anger in his tweet, but it was.
I don't really hold a grudge. I just
it's ridiculous that he cared that much about.
Yeah. Okay, we talked about 2019, and now we're talking about Albany.
You know?
I'm not.
Next up, Stony Brook.
Hold on, let's cue up the Conrad video from after the Stony Brook game. 5 overtime game. You know, I'm not expecting a lot. I actually have a piece coming up where I'm doing an interview with Big Ten blog about Penn State and our expectations there. And I'm trying to be a very good fan and not openly say I expect us to get beaten severely by Penn State because we don't even have a quarterback picked yet. I hope Lance Leipold surprises me. Don't expect that he will. We'll get into that when we're ready to sign off and do predictions. Okay. Now to make up time here, I did it for Hoops too. Recapping Hoops 2018. I guess 2018, 2019. I can do that. Okay. And the postseason. What else can you say except for it was amazing? Every step along the way was amazing.
It was cool.
We were the best MAC team of the past 20 years.
Yep.
Suck it, Kent State. Although our run didn't go as deep into the NCAA as some other MAC teams have managed, which is sad.
I don't think
teams
that
didn't lose to the national runner-up. You know,
I know. It was, and to Matt's credit, the minute that bracket came out, Matt was groaning at Texas Tech on that bracket.
I'm pretty sure we were doing the same thing. I didn't like to draw. Like
that was a nasty. It wasn't the seed that bothered me. It was having them so quick. And if we had a different seed, it would have been different. But.
Yeah, I didn't mind being where we were 5, right?
We were a 6. I think
we were 6.
Okay,
we were 6, and they were 3. And Texas Tech, they had been known all season to have the defense that was killing everyone.
We came. It reminded me a lot of the Arizona game up to the point where we tied the game with them. Like when we fell behind and then we rushed, we either tied or got within a basket, rushed back in, and then all of a sudden it's just after that point in the game, the offense completely fell apart, and you just saw what that Texas Tech defense was able to do to Buffalo, and And I felt awful about it, so I watched them roll through that tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed Michigan worse than they.
Oh, I know.
us.
Michigan looked more hapless than we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't just us that struggled against them.
So, Tim, if you can get Zach back in.
Oh, is Zach back? He's ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's.
I'm here to give it
Hey,
a try.
he's
Oh,
back.
that's much better.
That is high
What an
definition
improvement.
Zach over there.
Zach, no. Say,
It's my-
say it looks like I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Zach had
I
a
think
chemical
I
peel while he was
picked the wrong day
gone.
to stop sniffing glue.
And I sure hope that you guys are old enough or nuanced enough to get that reference.
You know, I speak jive, Tim. I speak jive.
If you haven't watched Airplane, go watch it. When I got yelled at the Minnesota game for saying, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, well,
I got savaged on Twitter for that. Like, oh, this guy doesn't even know who bombed us at Pearl Harbor. I'm like, oh my god.
in the history, in the
For
history of
once,
Bull
watch
Run,
something classic
Stepping
and
out
not
of line.
current. Come on. Like,
in the history of Bull Run, stepping out of line, that is far down the list.
Oh, I know. I don't want to get into. I'm going to leave that one, Cat, for another time, man.
We do not. Nope, we do not need you.
after party.
After party. All right, so the draft was a little disappointing. I was hoping CJ would get drafted. Perkins ripping off a sweaty headband was a bit disappointing. That's dumb. And I don't even think he did anything really bad. I'm amazed they gave him a technical for that. He went up, he grabbed the guy's headband. I don't think on purpose, and it was sweaty and nasty. And what do? You
I
threw
don't know.
back at the
That looked
guy.
like a technical to me. Like,
Ah!
that
I
looked
can't
like
remember-
classic Nick Perkins getting hot-headed in the wrong
Yeah,
moment at
I
the wrong
agree.
I
time.
can't
I'm
remember
not
where
saying
it
he
was.
wasn't hot-headed. I just don't think that was a technical. I don't think that was a game ejection technical foul. Maybe a technical.
Whether
Yeah, no,
whether
game
it was in
ejection,
our-
I don't know about that, but it was definitely worth a technical.
Yeah.
And that was very classic Nick Perkins to where he just got too into the game
Yeah.
and he got a little bit too hot-headed for the ref's liking.
I can't remember if it was in our chat or if it was on Twitter, but someone said that they thought that, the fall on the head was the fall on the head, and he tossed the headband, just realizing what he did, just out of frustration with himself. And
It could
that's,
be that too.
that's a
but
little bit how I read it watching the highlight.
Maybe.
But
Yeah,
what's
it
done
didn't
is
look
done.
like. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is if he threw a sweaty headband in my thing, I'd be like, ah!
I don't know. Basketball's
I
a
think
hard enough sport to
water,
ref.
you saw water flying off of that thing as he threw it back. It looked like a comet.
I know basketball's hard enough a sport to officiate. When you see stuff like that, you just gotta call it as it is and give him the technical. Because why is he grabbing the dude's headband in the first place? So
I don't know. So that was
that's
a
rough,
rough. But obviously the roughest part of the postseason was Nate Oates breaking all our hearts.
Baby, come back.
Who here was honestly surprised that he left?
That he left, no.
And
left
maybe
for
Kevin.
Alabama, I was a little bit surprised by.
Oh, for
I'm not
Alabama,
surprised he
maybe.
left.
But
I'm not even surprised by Alabama because they have the budget,
They have money.
The deal of that contract is ridiculous.
Oh, what's it,
Um,
like 2.5 million?
And
oh yeah,
yeah, well, plus perks.
Plus perks, yeah.
the-
Plus
he's
bonus.
set for life after this job.
I
Whether
have
he gets
always
fired
said,
or not.
I always said he's not leaving Buffalo while Crystal's health is in doubt. And they
Yeah.
announced that she's in remission, and he had his best team ever, and someone threw a lot of money at him. What bugs me is how quickly it came. I am. You cannot convince me that his head was entirely in the Texas Tech game. You can't. And his head was entirely in preparation.
I don't know.
You-
Given that we look better against Texas Tech than Michigan and other schools, I'm not gonna cast that aspersion.
No,
Sure,
my
that's
thing
fine.
is he was
You can't
talking
convince me.
about
So
Yeah.
talking about his struggles with preparing for the second game after winning one. So what it looked like to me was they poured all their effort into winning the first game, and then they had a 1-day turnaround to get ready for the next game in the tournament.
yeah, which
So and like
I'd rather I would have been really disappointed, and I told myself we better win the MAC championship because I know the tournament's such a crapshoot all the time.
absolutely.
I would not have been surprised, if Arizona State caught us, or even St. John's, if they caught us. And so I said we better win the MAC tournament so that we don't get in as an at-large and lose right away. it was very important to me to win at least one and not go at least get as far as last year.
Yeah,
So-
no, I have no complaints about how that worked out. My only thing was how he left. Like, that he couldn't have, taken an hour to page all the students and say, look, get here if you can.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
the only reason any of the student athletes knew was because they caught him packing his office up.
Yeah.
That's how they found out. I think he owed them a little bit more than that. I don't like to get into the what people owe people thing too much because those guys got to play for an incredible coach, go to the NCAA tournament twice in a year, get a ranked team. So it's not like he owed them a pint of blood or anything like that.
Yeah.
He did move them, some of those guys across the country, though. So, I feel like you owe them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And finding out, he's packing his office, he's going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, credit to Whitesell for, we lost 2 recruits and
That was the next. No, we lost more than 2. We lost everyone. Credit to Whitesell on that.
Well,
we lost
clearly, I haven't even been following UB for 3 years.
Well,
I don't know how many recruits we
The
have.
fact that Whitesell did not lose either Janathan or Rondo Segu
Yeah.
is one of the biggest wins you could ever get as a new coach.
Were the kids from Cincinnati and Texas Tech already in the mix by then, or are those after Oaks left that we pulled in?
Post Oaks.
Okay, well,
we lost our. I think it was 5 guys. We lost our entire recruiting class within a week.
We lost.
We lost the 2 4-stars that he pulled in late. That Oaks had pulled in late. But
Everyone.
So here's the thing that I've been dying to say. I have. UB basketball is the second team in my life that I've ever gone into games expecting to win. I just come from a set of sports teams where I don't expect my team to win. And every single loss of last year was the worst loss of the season. The loss against Marquette was the worst loss of the season. The 2 MAC losses were the worst losses. At that point, it was very difficult for me to bring myself to actually be able to watch a game because it was so nerve-wracking. I would have my mother text me with 10 minutes left to tell me it's safe to watch now. Honestly. So I have no clue what was happening. Short of watching the last 5 minutes of every game, I have no clue what was actually happening with the team last year. It's so embarrassing, but I can't. I kind of prefer the seasons where we're jostling for 1, 2, or 3 and the buys that come with it. And if you lose, you're not your entire season isn't ruined because it could ruin your at large or knock you from that 3-6 area to the 8-9 area. It was a very difficult time. What game did I go home for? I was home for a game over Christmas break. And we were up by 12, 13 minutes into the game. I said, we're not playing well enough. We have to turn this on.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
that was the general sentiment of UB Twitter this year. It was pretty crazy. It's we're not winning by 30, then we're losing.
Yeah,
we're
burn down the barn. We're not winning by 30. It's
losing.
the end of the world.
I think that we're still in pretty good shape this year, but I'm also going to welcome. I think we're one of the 2 most talented teams in the MAC. I'm also going to welcome.
I think we're in fantastic shape this year.
I'm going to welcome not really having an at-large shot or expecting at this point in time to have an at-large shot.
Just to echo what Matt and Robbie said, Whitesell just did an amazing job. Now I don't know how he's going to be as a coach. He was at DePaul before, I think.
He was at Loyola Chicago. He was at Loyola Chicago.
He was at Loyola. Thank you.
Loyola Chicago of then is much different than the Loyola.
Yeah, they weren't taking him too seriously. But I've had people say, "Oh, so and so is coach," and I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he's been in the system. The fact he kept the entire roster in when Hurley left, we lost players on the roster. Oates couldn't keep them.
Yeah, Maurice O'Field.
Yeah,
future superstar.
Your future superstar, Maurice O'Field.
And let's not forget Shannon Evans.
Yeah, whatever. I don't need to think about him.
History might, but we won't.
I'm with you, Matt.
I have so much respect for the people who finish with us.
Yeah.
Josh Freelove played 1 year with UB, but and every once in a while I find an old highlight from God knows when, and I did it twice this morning on the Bull Run Twitter. That Shannon Evans crossing over the Kent State dude early in the blackout. I don't feel like I can use that anymore. The Levante Bearden buzzer beater against Bowling Green on senior. I don't feel like I can use that anymore. Those were great memories in the moment, but I don't really want to think of those guys.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I can understand that.
And it's not anything against them. I just don't like to think of folks who left.
Yeah, no, and so when Whitesell held the whole team together, and then he pulled in a pretty respectable recruiting class for short term. I mean, it's decent. It's it's.
I think David Skogman, despite the health problems he had, which he's showed no other like risks ever since.
Yeah.
I think he had a cardiac arrest or whatever it was.
That's right.
He was a high major recruit.
No, Justin Moss.
He was
I mean,
a
we have a
huge
history of that, you know?
steal, and for Whitesell to get him that late in the game was a big deal.
Yeah.
I
was
really like the
expecting-
recruiting class he put together. It's very on par with what Oates was doing in his earlier years.
Yeah, I gotta find
You
film
guys
of
know I
Steve
was getting
Italian.
my position last year, the whole season, even when I thought we would keep Oates, was with everything we were losing, a 20-plus win season would be a victory next year.
Yes. Mhm.
That I was getting yelled at all the time for saying that's too low because look at the talent. And I got to say,
Two of
Whitesell
the
did such.
10 best players in history. Two of the 8 best players in history
Yeah.
for our school. Like at the same time. Like
But I got to say, with Whitesell in there, I actually have that same expectation. I think Whitesell can get us to 20 wins.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be shocked if we won in the high teens or the low 20s. I'd be shocked if we won like 25 games. That would be, amazing. But I think with what he did retaining talent, what he did with the new class, and he's bringing in not just a couple of young kids, but he's bringing in some transfers with some hours on them.
And we got the 2 senior guys who were here with us during the Oates year.
yeah.
So I really think that a 21 season is not out of the cards.
I think a 21 season, and by the end of the year, competing for the MAC is reasonable.
I expect to go straight to Cleveland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
We
almost
go-
a given.
If we go, but I mean no campus round. If we go 0-9 and out of conference, we go because we're working it all out. I still expect to go straight to Cleveland, and that's for me. That's success this season. Like
The big thing, remember, is a lot of the MAC got hurt nearly as bad as we did by graduation.
yeah, last year was a great year for the MAC.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean, Toledo was 1 or 2 close games away from being in the conversation for an at-large last year. Toledo.
They were NIT, which is
Had they
pretty
played
very
some
different.
tougher opponents and maybe pulled out a win, they probably would have had an at-large. And
They lost 1 or 2 games that kind of like we lost the
That's what
NIU
killed them.
game, and that put us that really made me worried. That having the NIU loss and the Bowling Green loss at the time had me worried, but Bowling Green had worked their way to respectability by the time the season was over.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a quick around the NCAA. If you have any thoughts on what the whole off season, I'm going to throw 3 topics out there. You guys can decide if you want to talk about them. Beer at UB games, the American Athletic Conference, and any kind of transfer rule changes if you guys want to talk about.
beer at UB games can only be a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Like,
Especially if it's a tough year.
yeah, the lines at the basketball games are crazy. I'm interested to see what they're like at the football games, but in terms of revenue and just from the beer itself, and also like I do think it's going to help attendance. To be honest, like the worst part about football games is going in drunk and then it's 80 degrees and you have nothing to drink and you're hungover by halftime and then everybody leaves. So that problem is eradicated.
You and I, sir, are very different drinkers.
Hey, that was me as a student.
I just keep going.
Oh well, it was tough to do that at games.
Yeah.
We did have a secret area that we stashed it in the stadium when we were
that
in
was
Blue.
the best thing.
When the
Yeah.
stadium guards didn't know to look for the one guy with the winter jacket in September, like,
No, we went in.
You went in the night before.
We're gonna expose this on YouTube.
oh no, don't do this, don't do this.
I
No,
won't
we
say
need this.
exactly
We need the
where
student
it is.
vote. I'll mute
It's
you.
not going to change anything.
I don't think the students know about this. I don't think they did it last year. But there's like places that you
Well, now
can
they
put
don't
it in
need
the
to.
stadium the night before that you can get to that are private still during the game.
I mean, my trick for this was just to drink at soccer games because you just walk into
You
the
just walk in
stadium.
with beer and call it good. There's no ushers or anything.
And that was at the time that I was riding my bike.
So
I
you
was
want-
soccer games, ride
So if
home
you
and,
wanted to know who the creepy guy was getting tanked up at women's soccer games,
no,
right
this was
there in
men's
the upper right corner.
This was men's soccer with Steven Stryker's parents.
I know, but you know what? But we don't have men's soccer anymore. You have to go to Northern Kentucky for our men's soccer now.
Let's do fighting riddles. Go Norse.
You don't even have to go to
Leave the North,
Kentucky.
Robbie.
You
Get
got
it
2
right.
games in Western New York this year, right? Niagara and Canisius. Is that what it is, Robbie?
Niagara and Canisius. We're
Who?
playing. We're playing at Niagara and at Canisius on September 6th through the 8th. I should be there. So
Tell Robbie, your assignment is to kidnap the Shield and take it back to Cincinnati.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
I'm gonna have to talk to Sue about that. That'd be amazing.
Robbie, you can't do that, but if you happen to mention it to a adventurous undergraduate student and fan of the school, and it happens, you know.
If we kidnapped the Big Four Shield and brought it back down to Kentucky, that'd be the greatest thing ever.
Or you
I'm
can
bringing
be,
that up tomorrow at the scrimmage. I'm like, we gotta do
or
this.
you can at least maybe have Stu reach out to the other coaches and say, "Hey, can we take Buffalo's place in the Big Four Shield?"
I mean, we might as well.
It's-
We have the
You
relationship.
can't have a
where
Big
we're gonna
Four
be
Shield
playing
with
them
3
every year,
teams.
so.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That would
We
be
are
awesome.
the official Buffalo team now.
On the transfer rules, there was an interesting post not that long ago. I'm kind of in favor of it. Anything that makes it easier for kids, anything that encourages kids to get their degrees, and even if that means like they want to get it faster so they can transfer out their senior year, awesome. I know Matt just went in a couple minutes ago. He feels about people who transfer out, but like KJ Osborne, I got nothing against. I'll remember his highlights fondly
No, if
because
No.
he has a piece of paper. He graduated from Buffalo. He got his degree.
The folks who graduate are
Okay.
definitely a tier below that. I still won't think of them the same way as folks who play their last game with us, but
CJ Buckets.
there are tiers here.
CJ Buckets.
I also, honestly, this is where I've been, not just this summer, for 2 years. I have no clue what the transfer rule is that we're talking about. Not like you were listing the topics. I'm like, well, I guess beer sounds
Beer sounds good.
The transfer portal is a newer thing, at least as far as I'm aware. Whereas,
I know that exists. Okay. Yeah.
and what was the rule that was coming? They were talking about something this summer, and there was actually a decent post on Bull Run that people talked about it, and I can't remember the details of how they were proposing on changing it. But someone wanted to tighten down the rules, and anywho, all right, that's around me.
With the transfer portal, my deal is these are kids' future. They're gonna look out for what's better for them. Like when a kid transfers out from your football program, or whether they graduate or not, for the most part, you're not gonna care about them after they're gone. Like they're looking out for themselves and their future.
Yeah.
Like let them do what they think is best for them. And if you have anything problem with that, it's just sour grapes. Sorry.
Okay,
Like,
I remember what the post was now. I threw it up, and I got a little bit of pushback and some support here and there. My argument was people are saying they shouldn't have to sit after transferring.
they shouldn't.
I think they should. Outside of graduate transfers. I'll give graduate transfers grace because they got their undergrad degree. But being that my primary position is always based on what's best for them as student athletes,
Mhm.
I think if they go to a new university, they should have a season where they're students first. And they should get an extra year, right? If you've played...
Okay, if you give them an extra year, then
give them
I
an extra
agree
year.
with that.
Yeah,
But-
give them one extra year to do it one time. So if they have their red shirt as a freshman, they play for 3 years, they want to transfer because a coach leaves, let them transfer. Yeah, but
Yeah,
and let
if
them,
a coach leaves, they absolutely should be allowed to transfer.
or even not, even if the coach just says, "Look, you're not working out. Go play at this other school, whatever." But they
Okay,
should be able to
fine.
transfer. They should have to sit for a year, and then get another year of eligibility on the first transfer. That was what I was saying.
As long, in my opinion, as long as it doesn't affect their 5-year clock.
Yeah, that's
Like-
kind of where I came down on it. Like the one transfer gratis. And the last thing was the American Athletic Conference.
I
Missed
think we're
opportunity.
right where we should be.
I can agree with that.
Until all of these TV contracts are up with the Power 5 programs, I
Mhm.
don't want us moving anywhere.
If the American had added somebody, I'd be disappointed. Right? Like if the
Fair,
American had added the school, I would have been like, "Dang, we missed it." But they said they're staying at 11, and I think that gives us time to just keep showing what we are. And I think the longer they wait, the longer it works out, the better we'll be. As long as leadership keeps moving the way it's moving. Like if we keep winning at basketball, if we don't even have to be 10 wins every year. If we can be Ohio in football and keep basketball about where it is, given the profile of the school, UB will be up high in the next round. of
Yeah.
whatever shakeup comes out.
And from our market alone, I think we're valuable. If you look at like some of the teams that got pulled into the American, like Tulsa and Tulane are like pretty much garbage at every sport, and they got pulled in just for their markets alone. Like we bring in a pretty decent sized market, and I mean we're actually like competent in sports, so it's a plus.
So Tulsa,
You did
Tulane
not hear the
fans,
last time. That's a sentence that you did not hear the last time we were doing Bulls and Bears. we pretended we were competent at sports, but it wasn't true.
yeah, no. Well,
It
the
was
Olympics
a very select few.
the Olympics were always doing really well under Danny White. Danny White actually they were competent.
So-
Football
Except
struggled.
for softball.
I have said this a lot, or I did last time I was writing regularly, and I have never quite gotten as much traction on it as I would hope. It is obvious to me, and has never really, people really haven't been saying it. Danny White's tenure, for all the other things that he did, came along with a marked investment in recruiting money.
Mhm.
And since he's left, you see every single team withdrawing to within New York State. Women's soccer used to pull from Northeast Ohio at least one, frequently two folks a year. Track and field and swimming do not go out of New York State, and they have like no money to use anyway. But I'm just watching every Olympic sport more and more pull from New York State, and we're doing okay, but it wasn't quite like that stretch with Danny White where we seem to, we were pretty good for 2 or 3 Olympic championships a year for 2 or 3 years.
What he did with soccer, I mean, just the soccer program under Danny White was, I mean, we stole a coach from another MAC school. We stole players along with that coach.
Cicerone was committed to Western Michigan.
I mean,
Yeah,
we're in a conference with
to Buffalo.
I mean, MAC soccer, we're in a conference with a legitimate annual every year national power. And we were still looking good. I mean, that's why the soccer thing was when soccer was one of the sports that was cut particularly hurt was because that program felt really poised to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see it now in Northern Kentucky. They're on pace for one of their best seasons ever since the transition to Division One.
Stu Riddle's a great coach. He was a great
was very savvy in where he went. Like, they were already ratcheting up their investment in all sports, and soccer especially, because FC Cincinnati was taking off from the USL. When he jumped, he saw the place that could take it and went right there.
The resources that Northern Kentucky have are not of a typical mid-major.
Yeah. And I mean,
so
I am still very excited about most of our Olympic sports. Both tennis teams look real good. They've been strong for a long time. There's no cycle there. Women's soccer, it has not reached the heights of that undefeated season the first year I really jumped in with them, but they have made the playoffs more time. Sean Burke is the most accomplished women's soccer coach we've had, I would say, ever, but certainly since Tassie. It was unheard of for us to make the playoffs 3 years in a row before him, and we've made it 4 or 5 years in a row now. Wrestling is doing great. It's tough with wrestling because I didn't think they were having a great year last year, and John would get on and be like, they're killing it all over the place.
Yeah.
Track and field is having some of that scholarship recruiting issue. They're still winning all the throws, which is great. Swimming is they're going to have their ups and downs, but they always win the distance stuff. They'll always get a couple wins. I can't bring myself to care about softball.
I feel like with swimming and wrestling, if they had more money to pull from, they would definitely be right up there with the Eastern Michigans of the world.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling.
That's hard to say, but with Olympic sports, that sentence has never been said in an aspiring tone before, Robbie.
But all that said, cross country never really recruited anyway outside New York, and New York is a hotbed for it. But swimming is one, softball is one, volleyball is one. It's not the same as under Danny White, and not just winning wise, but and we're absolutely competitive in the MAC in all these. Well, maybe not softball, but in all these sports, we're absolutely competitive in the MAC. But it just doesn't. That is one area where I will say I have never seen someone really talk about it. about just the fact that I really notice a recruiting difference since Danny White's left. And that said, like, if having fewer teams means that we're able to focus on the ones we have more, fine. I still don't understand. You know, Akron showed that you could drop baseball and stay in the MAC. And so why couldn't we drop both Diamond Sports and keep men's soccer? Just saying. And
the balance of student gender scholarships.
I know.
Title IX probably, definitely played in that.
It's
but still softball. There's no facilities in place to field a competitive softball team. Until even with the field house now, it's not the best situation.
Don't tell me that you're playing big time college athletics and you can't even have a graded field. You know, don't tell me you're big time college athletics and you don't have drainage that can handle, you know, an inch of rain in April. Like, it's.
Men's soccer didn't have a locker room per se, but at least they had like a field to play on that wasn't sharing with swimming and diving. Yeah. Like, so.
But on baseball, hey, maybe Tom Murphy will get a big contract soon, and he's been tearing it up this year. Tom Murphy.
This has been a very good year for him. I've been.
It's all coaching
for a couple games here and there.
I read an interview with him a few months ago where before he really took off, where he said just the coaching of the hitting coaching is so different in Seattle for him. And he's having easily his best year. There was an article, he was on TV, he hit 2 home runs the other night and did a couple cartwheels in the dugout. And he was doing an interview with a news magazine and said, you know, the difference is he's been given a chance to catch on here. It feels like the start of his career finally. Because Colorado did not know how to develop him. Every time he had 3 bad games in a row, they sent him back down to AAA. It was so frustrating to watch. All right, that's the show. Predictions. We're gonna go through predictions real quick. Let me see. Put my screen. Trying to pull off my screen. That's not gonna work. Trash it. All right, so we did football predictions. There'll be an article on this later this week. Just trying to... There we go. Allow. I'm learning as we go here. All right, look at how fancy we are. Kevin did not fill his out, which is good that he's not here because we could probably tease him about it. But let's go over our predictions. 2 of us have winning seasons, with Zach being the most hopeful with a 7-5 year. And I think a 7-5 year, I would be doing Tom Murphy's in my kitchen because I think with what we've lost, that would be amazing. I struggled to get to 6-6. Truth be known, I'm probably much closer to thinking 5-7, but hope springs eternal. Robbie's the pessimist. Let's see. I haven't really paid too much on this. Who does Robbie have us losing to here? Penn State, yes. Liberty. Really?
I got us losing to Liberty. It's a road trip, and I don't have a lot of faith in our offense.
If they had Gill, I'd be worried. And I'm not saying I'm positive we're going to win, but they have a new coach. You know, Gill had to leave unexpectedly.
I know that much, but.
I think and last year, you know, they won 5 games, but if you look at those 5 games, it was not a murderer's row. Temple, unfortunately, have a loss. They're going to come in looking for blood after we beat them at home. Beat them at their home last year.
NIU's Rod Carey, well, he was at NIU, is also there now, and he's like owned UB, and I don't know.
Yeah.
After the end of the MAC championship game, I don't feel good about. I had it as like a win for a little bit, but I pretty quickly changed that to a loss after thinking about it. I don't feel great about that game.
If your quarterback versus his very good defense, I'm not a fan.
I just look at what Temple has done to us since 2008. We beat them on the Hail Mary in 2008, and they treated. I can't find a nice way to say what they did to us for the next couple of years. They didn't just beat us, man. They made us look like we were an FCS squad, a bad FCS squad every time we played them up until last year. And last year, they did not take losing to us well. If you followed any of the social media,
it was a joke at first. Like they can't even beat Buffalo, and that was before like people thought we were actually good. But, like we really ruined the early portion of the season by beating them after they had lost to Villanova, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, and it looks like I caught pessimism because for some reason I have Ohio as a loss, even though it's a home game for us. So I think I've been hanging out with negative Nancy's too long here on this. But Ohio should be very good this year. The only reason why I had them as a win initially, before I chickened out, was because, like I said, I just have seen. I've seen good Buffalo teams go into Ohio and just get decimated, and I've seen good Ohio teams come up here, and we treat them like Temple treats us. So Akron is a win, yes. CMU. Robbie, are you the one who did you vote in the MAC poll? Are you the guy?
First in the MAC, they're going to win the MAC championship this year. Okay.
How in the world? So you have CMU beating us. It's a home game for us.
I'm gonna that one. I thought like we're gonna lose some fluke game that we should win.
That's the fluke.
I'm definitely the pessimist here. Like
EMU is a loss. Zach has it as a win. I think if it was home, I'd have it as a win. But
yeah, that's fair.
But EMU, they're not. It's weird living in a world where EMU is not garbage.
They are decent.
Like they've always been, and I want to point out, I laughed earlier when Robbie said, aspire to be EMU. I want to just say I fully understand in the non-revenue sports, Eastern Michigan is a very solid school. Track, swimming, they're great.
Women's tennis.
Yeah, I mean and they even in baseball they'll up and play pretty well every few years.
Yeah.
So I just laughed because most people only pay attention to football and basketball. And EMU has been pretty bad in both for a long time, but they're over 500 their last 3 years. A couple bowl games. That's a scary game for me. If we win EMU, I think we're a bowl team because I think if we're good enough to beat them on the road, I think Akron falls in place. I think Kent falls in place. Miami probably falls in place. I don't think Miami's going to be very good next year. I know.
I'm high on Miami.
I think Miami wins the division.
I like Chuck Martin.
I'm high on Miami. If I worry about playing Miami if we play them after week 6. Miami is the worst MAC cable DirecTV program in football over like the past 10 years.
I think they have a pretty horrid defense, but usually their offense as of late has been really good. And I don't know if we can fight fire with fire on offense this year.
If you look at Miami's good seasons lately, they always almost start 0-4, 0-5, or 1-4. They are the worst starting. And maybe this is the year they break that cycle. But I think I was tempted to put Miami as a win just because it's early-ish in the season in MAC play. They can be very good. They showed that last year. We'll see what they do. Toledo is going to be ugly, although it's a home game and it's a MACtion home game. So who knows? Maybe they'll come in here and be tired on a Tuesday night because they have exams the next day. And Bowling Green is another home game that probably won't be anything. I don't know how Bowling Green is going to be this year. That program went from looking like they were going to be like a stable MAC program to just complete turmoil overnight, and I don't see them rebounding. Although, Matt, you have them beating us. Is that just because it's senior day?
It's a few things. That's that game, after Thanksgiving, where who knows whose head is in what. If things go the way I think they will, we're looking at starting the year 2-4, getting a win against Kent to get to 5 wins, having 2 chances to get to bowl eligibility. Toledo's better than us, and Joe Licata was 5-6 going into the last game of the season. Joe Licata was 5-3 or 5-4 going into the last 3 games of the season. The last time before Tyree that Lance had a senior quarterback.
That's right.
Last year we needed, yes, we weren't fighting for bowl eligibility, but we were, rolling, and we didn't really finish the season strong. There was a year in there where we were 6. I think the year before we were 6-6, and yeah, we got there, but I don't have faith right now in this program to be 5-6 or to have 5 wins and close it out at the end of the season. If they get to 5 in the first 7 games, I'm like, yes, here we go.
But if you see a 5-5 team at week 10, you're thinking it's 5-7 or 6-6.
That's exactly what I've got here. I think right now that is a calling card of Lance Leipold's teams, is that they do not finish the season strong. And when you're 9-1, that's all right for the regular season, at least. When you're 5-5, 4-5.
And the sad thing was that's UMass that kept us from getting to 6-6 that year. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was Licata's last game.
Yep, sure was. So that's what I'm thinking. Prove me wrong. That's where I'm at. I think we're better than Bowling Green, but I'm still, my jury is still out on Lance. I'm still not convinced.
All right, so here's hoping Zach is right and the rest of us are wrong.
Yeah, and even I'm like, I don't know. I think I still agree with all my picks, but every day that Kyle Van Treese isn't named the quarterback, I grow increasingly pessimistic just because I feel like he should have won this job.
I've never been
from
sold
those
on
spring
Kyle
game
Van.
highlights, I think Tyree Jackson spoiled me. From those spring game highlights, I did not like any of the passes I saw. I just did. There was, and I think I'm just being a spoiled brat here because Tyree threw that ball every time. It was like even whether it went where he wanted or not, it went hardcore. Hey, kitty cat. Watching Van Treese throw is a bit more like watching Licata throw. It's not
Giving me PTSD here.
I just mean he doesn't have that next level arm at this point.
Yeah.
At least I didn't see it from the spring game highlights. I didn't sit and watch the entire spring game.
Oh, thank God we've already ticked off all of the Buffalo media. Heaven forbid we say that Joe Licata doesn't have a world-class arm.
Kind of doesn't.
Well,
and he doesn't run very fast either.
I mean, I sat in a press conference where someone said, Joe, you are the most positive person I've ever met in my life. I said, that's a hell of a way to start, like being a media member.
He was the Buffalo kid. He's gonna get every break he can when it comes to the media.
Yeah.
Is he still at Timon? Quick question.
He is.
Yep.
Yes. Good for him. I like Licata.
Yeah,
he was not a bad quarterback.
He's a nice guy. He's a local kid. He played great for us,
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't a savior to the program.
He was no Drew Willie.
No.
People in Winnipeg are cringing right now. All right.
Maybe one Winnipeg viewer.
Oh man.
If that.
All right, so that's our sign off. We're gonna skip acknowledgments and all that stuff tonight because we're over an hour and we were trying to keep this to 45 minutes. We will get better as the year goes on. And thanks for watching Bowls and Beers. We're going to sign off the broadcast and I'll kind of hang out and do our after party. Talk to you later. Wow, did Matt fail?